There are two problems only. One, either people don't know, or the second, people don't do what they know. And that will be my talk today. And when we are good with knowing and good with doing, we achieve hyper-performance in everything, including sustainability. There are tools scientifically validated and already applied to many organizational settings and also challenges that are sustainably global currently. Let's start with a basic awareness or the basic knowledge. There are no jobs on a dead planet. Therefore, you can replace that with any other word. You can place there are no fish, there are no flowers, there are no happy people on a dead planet. We have to start with a clarity of what could be the outcome. And meanwhile, we have to have clarity who we are before we construct relationships with technology.
This is called a wheel. Now, according to its developers, it'll change the way we work and live. Why? Because it rolls. It can also be added to wagons to make moving a heavy load easier. Your opinions?
If it rolls, that means it could roll away and get lost, right? Or it could roll over your foot. Do you have it in, square?
No square.
If there was a square one, yeah, it didn't roll. Then maybe I would think about buying one. Nice try. Real.
Nice try. Did you recognize somebody around you? Maybe it's a colleague or friend, maybe yourself sometimes. There is nothing really wrong with it. It's just a clarity and awareness. Just like this ancient wisdom about the white in the dark and the dark in the white, yin yang, we can have different perspectives on that. We can say it's very opposite and very polarized, but at the same time, it's complementary and it's part how we evolved. And we need to know that before we look at the technology. And here, this is a few years ago, Harvard Business Review. And you see in the dotted box, what do we have there? Big data, AI, and possible actions as suggestions. But what do you see outside of that box? It's a human judgment. Did you see the human judgment in the previous illustration? And no matter how well we design the algorithms, how well they and fast will produce possible actions, it's we who still make a decision. And if we have something as a barrier in our mindsets, that must not lead to the most optimal outcomes. And here, it's another example. People and how we are designed naturally, biologically, we have that tendency. And I call this tendency wrong shortcuts. There's nothing wrong with the shortcuts, generally speaking, because this is how we look for energy conservation, how we can do more with spending less energy. But it's important to be wise which shortcuts are bringing us, in this case, to more sustainable future, and which shortcuts are doing exactly opposite. Shortcuts like this. Well, we say that's a human nature, but there's one thing that is not really visible on this one. And this is what I'm going to introduce to everyone during this talk. And that would be a clear suggestion, what are the alternatives if we think about using technologies to help ourselves individually, as a teams, as organizations, as societies to achieve our goals. What we don't see in this image is the answer to the question why the sign is not working, because the sign says, please use sidewalk. And when I ask to the audiences, they say, well, it's shorter, faster. Yeah, maybe a little bit. They say, well, but there's no barrier around it. But what I say is, there is a thing which everyone, you intuitively know about it, but it's not consciously into your awareness. If I ask you, how many people have walked that direct path? And it could be a guess, maybe around this number. And then the next question goes, how many people built the sign? And it goes something like this. Game over. And this is exactly the invisible social layer that we better are aware of. And if we don't, we get into our biases, our prejudices, and some thoughts that are not bringing us to the future that we would like and we would desire. There are other campaigns like this. People exhibit how much space one person in a car takes up in a street. Very well, very creative, great campaign, but it was just one day. And there was some social media coverage, but not that long-lasting effects. That's why instead of this, which is very good, I'm not saying it's bad, it's good, but why don't we use more of this? Exactly the topic of today's conference. How we can use technology so we don't need to do everything ourselves. Here, it's a prototype at Longfellow Bridge connecting MIT campus, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Boston downtown. And it can project real-time, instant feedback loop. What are the speeds of the car within the last hour and what are the speeds of the bike? That's it. And these solutions bring people into the awareness what's happening, and then they can make clear decisions. This is how I started the research on persuasive cities for sustainable well-being back at the MIT Media Lab. The fundamental recipe for successful technology to make a real transformation, individual, organizational, societal, is that technology that incorporates instant, and then there was intelligent or instinctive insight. Technology helps people with that knowledge, with that awareness, and also suggesting some possible actions. And most of those actions come not from written suggestions, but from what other people are doing. This is another project we did with a student at MIT. It's how a selection of the food in a grocery store can tell you whether that food is more healthy or unhealthy. And that instant feedback on that screen that shifts from green to red, assuming that green is healthier and red is not, is telling you what do you have in your shopping cart. At the same time, it's not only for individuals. You can aggregate that data for the whole day, and then you see what will be the average of the grocery purchase per everybody in that grocery store that day, and then you can color that store from the outside, green or red, depending how the other people have done that. These are other alternatives where artificial intelligence, in form of the car, communicate through the eyes to the instinctive part of the brain in humans, saying, okay, I see you. And also these colors that change from red to the green is communicating, saying, I see you or I don't see you. So these two parts that are frequently referred to as system one, the primal part of the brain, and intellectual part of the brain, if we engage those two, then we can create much more effective technologies. And then when we start to think about artificial intelligence, there are some important questions to be asked.
And how can you help humans to have a better quality of life?
Humans often rely on gut feel or have confirmation bias in your decision making. As AI, we are designed to be rational and logical. We have algorithms, deal with lots of data and sophisticated analyses. So in many ways, we provide a systematic framework for humans to make better decisions.
For humans to make better decisions. And if we humans make better decisions and we use the help of AI to make better decisions, we get better outcomes for ourselves. And if somebody is still questioning, do we really need help with making better decisions? This is just another illustration that I found online, just like many other ones, that is kind of telling us that no matter how great technology, including artificial intelligence or even a simple technology, are given to people, they might still have some decisions which are habitual, which are more old-fashioned, just like in this case. Everyone already got the understanding what is happening in this situation? It's a human being and quite advanced car. And if you pay closer attention, it's a fully electric car. And it's nothing wrong with the car, it's just how we handle very advanced technologies. So here we arrive to a perspective which is very important for me to tell you and for you to try to see where we are in the question of how we can be better at something. And the performance is usually used in organizations, also in societies. We want to be better performing. And many cases when people think about performing better, there are some activities that would look like this. And this would say, I will give you an example. You come to an inspirational talk, just like this one. And you say, well, yes, we can build a better relationship between humans and technology. That person on the stage said it's possible. But then people go back to their routines, go back to their usual habits, and it kind of vanishes away. The next is sometimes people take even longer time to learn new knowledge, to get better awareness. And this is sometimes like trainings, 1-2 days. And then again, expectation is that performance will go up. But this is not what we really think about hyper-performance, which I usually suggest people would look at. And for the hyper-performance, we come down to the initial 2 things that I said at the very beginning. It's knowing what to do and doing it. And that's why I have the Rubik's Cube in my hand. It's just an example. So one thing is knowing how to solve it, and the second is doing it. And if you want, I can show it later in my talk, or you can come to my YouTube channel to see how to do that. And then when we do it, when we know and do it, we get to integration. And the good news about this, sometimes people say, well, I can know many things, but still I will be bad at performing. I say, no. Everyone has this. And this is a simplified look into our brains. Those are neurons, and those are neural connections, those red dots. And those red spots can be unwired and rewired differently. It's called neuroplasticity. Every single person has that. And neuroplasticity enables humans to become superhumans. Every single person. You see, the cube is quite popular in my talk. Also, here, person has 3 cubes. I don't know how many of you have seen this. And you might guess, OK, how the person is going to solve 3 cubes. So let's watch. It's a human being juggling 3 Rubik's Cubes and solving. Of course, that's a Guinness record for a person to solve 3 Rubik's Cubes in 5 minutes. I can do 1 Rubik's Cube in 2.5 minutes. So he's faster with 3 juggling than I do 1. And the answer is why the person can do it, because the person uses neuroplasticity to achieve this goal. So we choose the goal, and then we put our installed wetware in our brains into achieving this goal. And this neuroplasticity helping doing that. Recent scientific research going to be published this year in August explains why we are unsuccessful to bring people from knowing something into doing something, from knowledge to behavior. In organizations, societies, it's often the case when people don't move from knowledge to the behavior, they are either encouraged by rewards and carrots, or they are told you will be punished if you're not going to do it. It's a very unsustainable way. More sustainable way, according to our science, is this. We help people from knowing something to accept that as a part of value for their lives, something meaningful, something relevant. And if you bring people to accept it as part of their lives, the next is some people drop off and say, yes, I know it's relevant, it's meaningful, but I don't intend to include this into my daily routines. I don't plan to change anything. But then if you bring people to the intention to change their routine, then the behavior is more likely to happen. Once we have done our work with the human beings, the next, as we speak today about technology, we put it into perspective. How we can combine the human intelligence with technology intelligence. And if you pay attention, it's less than a second. So this robot, equipped with AI, computer vision, and algorithms and learning, can do it in less than a second. And this is another example where we not only give it for a very rigorous mechanical robot, but here it's a hand that looks like a human hand, and it deals with exactly the cube as it's imperfect, and it fights the gravity, and it tries to find a way to solve it. I'm not going to play the whole video. It's going to be otherwise 4 minutes. I cut it short, but in the end, here is machine learning with the neural networks, with great software engineering, great mechanical engineering, great electrical engineering to solve some real problems with engaging with technologies. At the same time, people still use technologies for encouraging societal change. So here, I don't know how many have seen this one. So this is a metro that was in Moscow. This is Mexico City. And it's all about how we can help people to be more healthy, more active. And then in Dubai, what they offered is 1 real gram of gold if you lose 1 kilogram of your own personal weight. So these are all kind of very interesting blends of technology with the human nature, with the one goal, to change something in society, to help society be more aware and thankful. But here's the problem. Do you see the problem? It's right there. It's a ticket. It's a carrot. It's a reward. And what it tells to our individual psychology, we do the squats not because we believe it's better for ourselves, but because to get this. And that's the biggest problem when we think about how we can use technology wisely. This is a typology of change. As well, many people don't understand that there are different kinds of change. So therefore, I had to create this typology with 3 types. The one is transactional change. It's one time. You can do like a morning exercise 1 time, and you will feel good about it. But nothing really changed. No transformation happened. Sometimes there is a transition. Transition means for 3 months, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, for example. And then after 3 months, you say, well, it kind of wasn't that much fun, and you stop it. And this is transitional change, which also doesn't lead to sustainable outcomes. Therefore, instinctive part, which relates to other human beings, can lead us to the fundamental transformations. And if we include that perspective into technology design, we get much more successful results. Here is a study that tells a person in this purple jacket was just a regular person. Other was recruited by the scientists, actors. And they were standing on the beep, and they were waiting for the eye test. And now the person is left alone, everybody's gone, and the beep, and the person stands up. So learning a behavior from others. And there are random other people coming in, and you see what is happening. And this is called social influence. How we change what we think and what we do based on others. That's the alternative which is missed in so many technological developments. So many campaigns are not leveraging this. But this is so powerful. You see, there was nothing about punishing or rewarding. It was just other people did that. So I did it, and then it's passed over to the next people coming in. Coming closer to the end of this talk, of course, we can, as we know now, there are 3 types of change: transactional, transition, transformational. We would like to have transformational, of course, to achieve sustainable results. And how can we get more consistent, more, let's say, organized in a way? And this is another tool that already individuals have used and organizations. So if you have decided my green vector, my high-performance vector, and I want to be more person who cares about the health or well-being or makes sustainable choices in the mobility, for example, then all the other earlier habits are on these other arrows. And if you map that out, it gives you the roadmap how to get yourself disciplined to move to where you want to get. Because in the daily lives, our habits will deviate from our new goals. And this tool is very helpful to explain. Geometry is very simple. If you make a decision which is away from where you want to get, you will never get there. You will arrive somewhere else. This is how the arrows work. So the longer you get on the different path, the further you are away from where you want to be. In organizations, we put it to the test. We really make it practical. And people sometimes are late, right? Have you seen that happening with you? And this was an organization, and the people were arriving to meetings late. 65% were on time at the beginning, and after 5 meetings, 100% of the people were on time. And now you wonder, okay, how did you get that result from people being late to people being on time? What we did, very simple, instant feedback loop, making transparent who is coming on time and who is not, by connecting the computer and showing everybody, and if you were on time to the meeting, you get the color. If you were late, you didn't get the color. And after introducing such a simple prototype running with the real people in real organizations, everyone was coming to the meetings on time after 5 meetings. So coming closer and wrapping it up, let's show some other more sustainably oriented innovations that are really pointing the problem, which is most of the times with the human behavior, and then how we can use technology to help ourselves.
Hi, I'm Michael. My mission is to free the planet from litter and plastic pollution. Before there were humans on Earth, there was no litter, so it's actually a man-made behavior problem. The Littery solved this by turning litter into lottery tickets. If you happen to have an unscratched lottery ticket in your hand, like this, and you happen to drop it, what would you do?
Pick it up.
Of course. The bin recognizes you using Bluetooth to detect your phone. The built-in camera uses AI-powered computer vision to detect if you have sorted correctly. If you did, your ticket will arrive in seconds. What happens if you sort incorrect? The AI-powered computer vision checks if you sorted correctly. If you didn't sort correct, you will receive a nudge. The Littery smart, solar-powered, contained, sensor-equipped litter bins and recycling stations communicate their real-time status to streamline waste operations. The Littery's concept is scientifically supported. When litter hits the bins, everybody wins.
Kind of makes sense, right? But there are more and more under development as well, including more social component. The good news is, if we do right things, we can achieve sustainable mindset on a different planet in our solar system. This is Mars, and that's a rover leaving some parts, and they are left in a different times of the visit and different days, but they are left in the same spot. So we are having the possibility to send a rover, artificial intelligence, where we have a 10-minute time delay in the communication, and the rover knows, okay, let's not litter the other planets too. Let's bring the stuff to the same place, so if the people will come, they can pick it up from the same location. So if anyone is interested more in this scientific journey that I'm proposing to everyone, I have a website where I have all the scientific publications. My talks are available on the YouTube. And the final takeaway is a reminder right here.
What's your biggest weakness?
My biggest weakness is that I can be too trusting of people and can be taken advantage of as a result.
How do people take advantage of you?
By asking for favors that they have no intention of returning, or by asking for confidential information that they then use against me.
How have people used information against you?
By spreading rumors about me, or by using my trust to manipulate me into doing things that I wouldn't normally do.
You see, that's artificial intelligence. That is one form of artificial intelligence. And it speaks about us humans taking responsibility. So recently there is a book out about how we have to take responsibility to what do we ask from artificial intelligence, and there are some other ideas in that book. And today, the final reminder is it's not about the tool that we are developing, it's about us. What do we decide this tool to be used for? And we are the decision makers. Thank you.